Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. It is Wildcard Wednesday. We're going to look at our favorite videos from the week, and boy, do we run the gamut here. We're going to start and finish with kind of some fun. It's all fun. What am I saying? But before I move on, please subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching: YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Just hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you with us every single episode, not just Wildcard Wednesdays. These are fun. Without further ado, the LA Dodgers won the World Series. Now, the last time they won, Mookie Betts refused to come to the White House with the team for the meeting with the president. This go round, it's changed a little bit, and he got a special shout out from Senor Presidente. Let's roll the tape.
All year, the Dodgers faced down adversity. You entered the playoffs battered and bruised, but not broken. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular, and pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular. But the starting rotation during the National League Division Series, this scrappy Dodgers bullpen shut out the Padres, saved the season, and forced Game 5. Then key players battled back from midseason injuries to help deliver the National League pennant, including superstars Mookie Betts. Oh, is he good?
Good looking.
Mookie, that guy can play, can he?
This is a guy in the president who can trip over his teleprompter and make lemonade out of lemons. But anyway, the Mookie Betts moment was notable. Also, Shohei Ohtani apparently went to the Oval later and took a picture in front of the Declaration of Independence, which I find to be really moving. Someone from another country whose heritage is from another country and who decided, I want a picture with the Declaration. I think that's cool. What was also rather funny, and sometimes I don't think some people just don't want to acknowledge that the president is kind of funny. But this was funny. Roll it, Misty.
And others. We have a couple of senators here. I just don't particularly like them, so I won't introduce. Over the course of this amazing season, the members of this team I didn't think it was that big a deal, actually. Washington.
All right. So, Adam Schiff is a senator from California. No love lost there with Adam Schiff. Shifty Shift, as he likes to call him. So that was that ceremony. It's really interesting when you see people sort of changing their minds. I mean, we know Bill Maher changed his mind a little bit. Actually went to the White House. I mean, this is one of the president's biggest critics. And somehow Kid Rock convinced him, come to the White House, have dinner. And we showed you that last Wildcard Wednesday. See, you never want to miss an episode. And that was tremendous. And that was a turnaround of sorts. Okay. Now Mookie Betts decides, okay, I'll go this time, and gets a handshake from the president. See, people, there's a real difference between the way that someone projects him or herself to the world and then when you meet them in person. I'll say that about Rush Limbaugh because I had the pleasure of dining with him twice. And I had only known him from the radio. He turns out he was, rest his soul, he was a massive Steelers fan. And he also knew Al Michaels really well. So Al and Chris and Rush and I went out to dinner in Pittsburgh once, and then he joined us a second time, and I got to sit with him and talk to him and really get to know him better. What a sweet man. Completely different from his persona on the radio. Anyway, so that's what I think people are finding out about the president. The other thing we're learning about this president is he is standing up for what he believes in. He doesn't waver. He's got a backbone. He's got a spine. And these tariffs that everyone is freaking out about, and as I'm sitting here recording this, the markets are doing well. after a couple days of awful territory. I mean, just don't want to look at your 401k kind of stuff. I think that's starting to change because other countries are responding and coming to the table. The first one to come to Washington and sit down at the table to discuss tariffs and other things was Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. The prime minister said this. Roll it, Misty.
Many subjects. First, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest today. I can tell you that I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same.
Well, and we're hearing that many of those countries are stepping forward. Among the first, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam. So we'll see where this goes. I mean, look, it's the way the markets have fluctuated. You never know which direction this will go. But at the moment, we seem to see some negotiating happening. China's another question. We'll get to that when we know more. So if all of this is making your gut uncomfortable, let me make a recommendation, because all health starts in the gut. Did you know that? You are what you eat and all of that. So let me recommend a product that I use. It's called Kimchi One. It's from Brightcore, and you can go to mybrightcore.com, BRIGHTCORE.com/Michelle with one L. And you can find out more about this. But let me tell you about Kimchi One. This is something that can help your overall health. It's funny because my producer Misty and I were talking about kimchi the other day, and she was acknowledging its health benefits. See, Kimchi One packs all the fermented nutrition of kimchi in convenient capsules, so you don't have to eat the kimchi if you don't want to. This arms your gut with over 900 unique strains of probiotics, supporting gut flora and digestion. I highly recommend this product. I use this product because all health starts in the gut. So putting the right fermented superfood in your gut improves every aspect of your health, your skin, your hair, your mental performance. Kimchi's even been shown to reduce your risk of obesity and promote smaller waistlines. Kimchi One is all natural, made in the USA and non-GMO. And today, an exclusive offer just for you from me. Go to mybrightcore.com, BRIGHTCORE.com/Michelle, MICHELE, one L in Michelle, 25% off, 25% off. Or you know what? I'll even give you one better. Call Brightcore and my friends there will give you up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call. I'm going to give you the number. Their educated staff can help make sure that Kimchi One is right for you. Here's the number, 888-927-5980. You can see it there on the screen, 888-927-5980, 888-927-5980, or go to mybrightcore.com/Michelle for 25% off. Back to the wild card. These tariffs that everyone is complaining about, we talked yesterday about selective outrage, or a couple days ago about selective outrage. We get outraged when it's convenient to us. So in other words, people are outraged that, men are playing in women's sports. And then other people say, oh, it's not an issue. This is so not an issue. This just really isn't happening. But if you misgender your child, we're going to arrest you. So it just depends on where you stand on each issue. But Bernie Sanders, this is from 2015. So 10 years ago, maybe he's evolved. I don't know. But back then, the very liberal, you could say socialist senator, said this.
At the end of the day, I think what Americans perceive, and you ask me why there is momentum for our campaign, these trade agreements were written by corporate America, were written by Wall Street. The goal was to shut down plants in America, to stop having to pay workers in Iowa, Vermont, this country, decent wages, move to China, pay people low wages, and bring their products back in America.
Supported by Democratic administrations.
You're quite right. Many of these policies, you're absolutely right. Many of these policies were supported by not only Republicans, by President Clinton and, unfortunately, President Obama. They are bad policies. They are opposed by and large by every trade union in this country, and I believe by the majority of the American people. At the end of the day, the American worker should not be forced to compete against people in Vietnam who make 56 cents an hour minimum wage.
How do you roll back the clock on those agreements?
Well, you renegotiate agreements. And what you say is, look, we want agreements that work for the American middle class. I want to see, we have lost, just to review, since 2001, we have lost almost 60,000 factories in the United States of America and millions of decent paying jobs. Not all of that is attributable to trade, but a lot of it is. And at the end of the day, if corporations can shut down in America, pay people 25 cents an hour, 50 cents an hour someplace else, that's what they will do. And we have got to stop that. We have to demand they reinvest back in this country and provide decent paying jobs here.
So at the risk of looking like Kamala Harris during the debate where she would put her chin under her hand and listen to the president, that's really interesting to hear Bernie Sanders just 10 years ago. Now, you could say 10 years, well, that's a decade. Things have only gotten worse for American manufacturing in the last 10 years. So if anything, he should be doubling down on this posture. But instead, he's saying oligarchy is running the White House. There are oligarchs. Elon Musk is an oligarch. You know, throwing those shades of Russia at us again. So I thought it was really important to play that because what he is saying might as well have been said by Donald Trump. We had Kevin Walling, a Democrat strategist, on the show on Monday, and he said if only the parties would look like they're working together. This is an opportunity for that. And you know, if this trade war, or whatever it is that you want to call this tariff negotiation, ends up being a net positive for the country, and Democrats are going to be on the record against it, it's going to be really, really interesting. When Bernie Sanders said that just a decade ago. I know, just a decade, but if anything, things have gotten worse. All right, so that's that. That's 2015. Meanwhile, as I said, he's going around with AOC saying oligarchs are running the White House and yada, yada, yada. And we have these protests. And you know, with respect to my dear friend, Kevin Walling, who was on Monday, a Democrat, he talked about the excitement of the protests over the weekend, called them grassroots. I didn't push back on him in our first interview here on this podcast because I really wanted to listen to him. And I wanted him to make his case. And so I didn't push back. But when you talk about those protests over the weekend, hands off or whatever, being organic, there is example after example after example on the internet of people not knowing what the hell they're protesting. I happen to know people who enjoy getting paid to protest. And if you don't believe that that's happening, you're pulling the wool over your eyes. I've got some proof here. Let's roll this piece of tape of a guy who says for sure he's being paid to be there. Roll it, Misty.
Yeah, I get paid to be out here.
You get paid to be out here?
Yeah.
Amazing. So some pack.
You really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
He's holding a defund Doge sign and he's getting paid to do it. So look, it's funny that these protests are on weekends when people have free time. You can go make some extra money. You're not at work during the weekend. Most people aren't. Go make some extra cash. I've seen ads online, $30 an hour to protest. That can be a pretty nice day for someone who has a day off on the weekend. So yes, they're being paid. You see example after example after example of people not being able to define what fascism is, what they're protesting about. They've got little handout sheets that they were supposed to study that they didn't, and they're trying to read off of them. Fascism is Donald Trump. Why is he a fascist? Because he's trying to control the narrative. All politicians try to control the narrative. But he's doing it from the White House. I mean, you got to know better. I think these protests they're so performative, and I don't think anyone's necessarily buying that, especially I don't think anyone's particularly buying what they're selling. That's just me. That's just me. But I hope you're buying what Sleep Cream is selling. If you want to sleep better, I've got a solution for you. Now, when I was first presented with Sleep Cream, I have a couple bottles on my shelf back there. I wish I had them right here. I could show them to you, but see right there, they're the Sleep Cream bottles right there on my shelf. Sleep Cream is a topical. It's not something you take. It's not something you ingest. It's something that you apply to your skin. It goes into your pores and it relaxes you because it's CBD based and it's really pure and it smells really good. So I'm told about this product, Sleep Cream. It'll help you sleep. And I'm like, yeah, right. Hey, why don't you try it for a couple days and see what you think? And I did. And personally, I was really pleasantly surprised and a little blown away that this stuff helped me sleep. So what I do is at bedtime, I put a bit of it on the insides of my forearms and elbows, maybe on my wrists. Some people put it on the bottoms of their feet, and it allows your body to relax and do what it needs to do at night, which is sleep. So go to Sleep Cream, CREME, like creme, sleepcream.com. and use the code GAMEDAY at checkout. And you know what? I'm not the only one to say this. Let's see here. Dorothy B says, I have severe sleep apnea. I tried 2 types of CPAPs for over a year. Eventually, I had an Inspire surgically implanted. When I attended a state level conference, I took the activator for the implant with me. Then I left it in the room by mistake. For 5 days, I could only use the Sleep Cream Pro. It helped. I slept. Thank goodness. I so appreciated the sleep. How about that? I mean, we see testimonials like this all the time. So sleepcream.com, sleep, CREME.com. Use the code GAMEDAY at checkout to get free standard shipping on your first order. And you know what? They guarantee it. They guarantee it. So here's the deal. If you try it for a few nights and it doesn't work for you, just let them know. They'll take care of you. They will take care of you. Sleepcream.com, sleep, CREME.com. Code GAMEDAY at checkout for free standard shipping on your first order. Sleep, CREME.com. If you're ready for your best night's sleep, go to sleepcream.com. Use that code GAMEDAY. So the other fun issue, I say this with all facetiousness, I'm so tired of this. We saw a female fencer take a knee in a competition before she was being asked to play or to fence in a tournament to compete against a biological male who identifies as trans. And this female fencer said, We've seen it now in disc golf, which people are like, so what? No, not so what. You told us this wasn't happening anywhere. We saw 2 women, not women, 2 biological men competing as women in the women's championship of a billiards tournament, of a pool tournament in the UK. It was a women's division, and the championship was won by a biological man who was competing against another biological man. Now, you can say, oh, pool, how does playing pool, how does biology impact that? Well, I can make some arguments about that, but we have divisions for a reason. We've gone over this. But let's get back to the fencer for a moment. She took a knee. She's done interviews. She said, I couldn't do this in good conscience anymore. I'm not going to compete against a biological male. It's not fair. So someone from XXXY Athletics, my good friends there, the CEO, Jennifer Say, put out this video celebrating the black card.
Introducing the USA Fencing Black Card for women only. The USA Fencing Black Card is a new way for every woman in America to be reminded they're second-class citizens, just like Stephanie Turner. Every time you make a purchase with the USA Fencing Black Card, 3% is donated to USA Fencing inclusivity programs that encourage males who identify as women to enter women's fencing and steal their opportunities and titles. Why let Stephanie Turner be the only one to carry a USA Fencing Black Card? Now you can carry your own black card too, ladies, and be reminded that when you insist on being treated fairly in society, institutions like USA Fencing will gaslight you and tell you you're the problem. The USA Fencing Black Card does not exist. This parody was made for the purposes of elucidating the absurd injustice done to Stephanie Turner by USA Fencing, and to remind all women that entitled men enabled by weak male and female leaders are erasing your rights and standing in society, and it's time we all took a knee.
I love that. I love that. That was so creative and fun and makes the point so damn well. This is absurdity. It's nonsense. We keep saying the same thing. My husband said to me the other day, what more is there to say about this? It's insanity. It's ridiculous. Why do we have to keep talking about this? We have to until it stops. We have to until it stops. But this gender ideology, it just feels like it's gotten so big and unwieldy and unfair and absurd. And I'm not just talking about men competing in women's sports. I'm talking about kids being taught a million pronouns, being told that maybe they were born in the wrong body. What a horrid message. What a horrid message. Childhood is tough enough. My God. I grew up a chubby kid, ended up anorexic and, 85 pounds at 5'6" as a 13-year-old. Skeletal. Because I felt uncomfortable in my body and was made fun of for my little chubby belly. So I don't blame anyone. What I'm saying is the pressure on me as an adolescent and as a kid was rough. And that's the way I acted out. So now if a kid feels like a tomboy, a little girl feels like a tomboy, or a little boy feels effeminate, maybe he's just on the road to discovering that he's gay. Maybe she is just a tomboy who's going to end up being a world-class tennis player or whatever. But to suggest, you were born in the wrong body. And there are so many reasons this is happening. But that anyone in pediatrics would say, you know what, the right idea here is to give you hormone blockers, puberty blockers. We'll put you on puberty blockers. We'll see how that goes. And then if you're still uncomfortable, well, maybe we'll give you a penis. Or we'll remove your breasts. Or we'll take away your penis and give you breasts before you're 12. Well, there's a courageous doctor. His name is Patrick Hunter. And he went out on a limb and exposed how he thinks the medical profession has lost public trust because of this. I mean, there are a number of reasons. I think people are wary of the medical profession. It probably was exacerbated by COVID. But he calls current treatments for children with gender dysphoria one of the greatest ethical scandals in medical history. Let's roll that tape.
There was a Wall Street Journal article last week on how the public has lost trust in the medical profession, and rightfully so. I mean, I will say it. I am embarrassed to be a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I'm embarrassed to be a member of my profession. What we are doing to children is one of the greatest ethical scandals in the history of my profession. When I came out and started speaking publicly, I was afraid what it would do to my practice. It actually has built my practice. Mm-hmm. And when parents come and ask me about vaccines now and their concerns about those, it's not about MMR causes autism. It does not. The MMR vaccine does not cause autism. It's not that DTaP causes seizures. That was the issue in the 80s. It does not. I tell them, your concern, it's a general concern. Your concern is that you have lost trust in the profession of medicine. And the fathers go, yes, that's it. And the mothers go, yeah, you've lost trust in my profession. And then I expose myself. I say, please Google me. Please see who I am. And they say, I have. And I say, you know where I stand on gender? And they say, yes. And they say, that's why we trust you. Because our profession is harming people. It has to stop.
It has to stop, he says. And I'm afraid the only way it's going to stop, I mean, it's stopped in some places. I think it's been banned now in the UK, and we need to do that here. See, kids' brains aren't fully developed till they're in their early to mid-20s. So there's a lot. Just think back to when you were that age. I mean, well, a lot of us can't even remember our years from birth to 12. And the adolescence years are sketchy at best. And, then you finally hit a point in like your early to mid 20s where you start to go, okay, I feel like I'm myself now. I feel like I've figured it out a little bit here. I know who I am. So to touch a kid in a medical way and mutilate their bodies any time before that, again, I quote my great husband because he's got some amazing common sense. He said, someday our grandchildren are going to be told how lame our generation was for tolerating this crap and not standing up for them. Well, some of us are standing up, and our family is definitely standing up, and I'm sure many are. But to harm a child physically, to put puberty blockers in, to delay puberty, we all have to go through. We all survive. Are there exceptions? Yes. Are there exceptions to every rule? Yes. But I think even older trans people, again, I point to Caitlyn Jenner quite a bit because that transition took a long time, would tell you biological boys should not play in girls' sports and don't touch a child. Let them make that decision when their brain is fully developed. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Talk therapy is a lot cheaper, by the way, if you're worried about expenses. I think kids discussing all of this and figuring out who they are is hugely important. And in my recovery from anorexia, just speaking anecdotally and from personal experience, that talk therapy was immensely helpful. I'm just going to keep shouting this from the rooftops because I don't like to see children harmed. And I don't like to see anyone harmed, to be honest. And so, again, we're talking again more about this LGBT, this ideology, this transgender, this gender ideology that has become like religion for some people. So there was a pro-LGBTQ student at Grosse Pointe School Board meeting. This is in Michigan. And we're going to show you this little news clip because it's pretty disturbing. It's one thing to have your beliefs. It's another thing to harm someone who doesn't share your beliefs, harm them physically, violently. I'm a big believer in words. Say whatever the hell you want. But there's a point where your words could start to lead to others' actions. And, you know, this is really, you're walking a fine line here because everyone takes responsibility for him and her or their selves. But watch what happened at this school board meeting. Let's roll this tape.
All right, get you caught up on some news now. A young man accused of making a threat to a Grosse Pointe school board member during last night's meeting. Take a look.
Fortunate for you, I'm no Luigi, but to some disgruntled teen with his or her father's pistol or rifle, any of the other things you prefer in schools other than rainbow flags, you might be a Brian Thompson. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You know, you don't always have your life threatened right here, and that guy, Ian Seaman, he absolutely just did threaten my life, and, you know, for my exercising representative government and democracy and First Amendment, that's pretty disconcerting.
It's unacceptable to make thinly veiled threats to anybody, regardless of status, and that's unacceptable.
I'm really taken aback by what just happened at that microphone regarding a person and a public servant. And I would hope that all of you, regardless of your opinions, realize we are people first. And that was completely scary. And I'm shocked that it's not being addressed differently, quite frankly, at this board, and that we've overlooked that because it was really hard for me to focus on anything but that, because that could be any one of us.
Now, you heard the man wearing a backpack making a reference to Luigi Mangione, the man accused of murdering former United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The speaker walking off to some applause. Police were there at the meeting. It is not clear what happened as a result of those comments.
Did you hear it? The kid said, I may not be Luigi, but you might be a Brian Thompson for some other kid with a pistol or a rifle. All right. My first hope is that that kid went home to two parents, or at least one, or any kind of guardian who said, what the hell were you thinking? And I would make that kid, if it were mine, go to the next school board meeting and publicly apologize and acknowledge how stupid and silly and scary and awful that was. Now, again, I am all about free speech. Did he have the right to say it? Yep. Are there consequences for some of the things that you say? There shouldn't be. Again, it's free speech, right? But you had 3 adults up there saying, oh my goodness, what just happened? And some people applauded the kid. I hope the people who applauded, I could say, didn't really know what he was talking about, but there was no mistaking that. You might be a Brian Thompson. Again, this acceptance of Luigi Mangione, killing a man, a father, an executive, a productive member of society, whether you agree with his value system, his employer, whatever, taking his life because you are angry at insurance companies, and Luigi's getting love letters. God, we're crazy. We are crazy in this society. It's nuts. So I thought that was worth showing. Finally, we're going to have to be brave and do good about this one. All right. There are these wolves that have been made famous by Game of Thrones. And they were extinct. I want to make sure I have the right name of them. Dire wolves existed thousands of years ago. Dire wolves. Now, we have yet to cure cancer, although we're making strides, but we can recreate a dire wolf. So here's the story. Dire wolves were extinct. People saw Game of Thrones. They thought, oh, those are cool. Let's make some. And so somehow they manufactured DNA to make, well, I hear 3 of them. 2 of them are making their debut. Take a look at these. They're really cute pups. Go ahead and roll it. Oh, sure, they're cute now. They're adorable. But from what I understand, they grow to be about 150 pounds. Let me just read. It's amazing science, right? But if we can do that, what else can we recreate that might not be so good? What are people going to be willing to pay to recreate? So that's a dire wolf. They've been extinct 10,000 years. Those 2 that you saw were Romulus and Remus, the world's first de-extinct animals. They were born back in October. The dire wolf has been extinct for over 10,000 years, but those 2 were brought back from extinction using genetic edits derived from a complete dire wolf genome, meticulously reconstructed by, I guess, a company called Colossal, from ancient DNA found in fossils dating back 11,500 and 72,000 years. I was talking earlier about how the decade's not that long. Apparently, 72,000 years isn't that long. We can now take DNA that is that old and create a dire wolf. This moment marks not only a milestone for us as a company, this is Colossal's talking, but also a leap forward for science, conservation, and humanity. From the beginning, our goal has been clear, quote, to revolutionize history and be the first company to use CRISPR technology, CRISPR technology, successfully in the de-extinction of previously lost species. But what is next? Woolly mammoth? Pterodactyl? I mean, we've got fossils. Holy cow. I just, it's cool. But that goal is really interesting. There are some animals that are extinct or on the brink of becoming extinct that it would be really interesting to have them back. But maybe they're extinct for a reason. Maybe it wouldn't be so good to have roaming the planet. I don't know. The jury is still out. What would you want to see come back from extinction? I had a thought. And it scared me. I'm not going to articulate it. So if you face a dire wolf, just be brave and do good. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Hey, you can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.